close enough for that.
So let's go across the pond, as it were, and let's talk to...
across the pond?
Well, he's across the pond and through the woods.
And over the river?
And over the river and across another pond and kind of on the other side and upside down. Everything he does is backwards.
Let's go to where it's winter and where I'd like to be right about now.
Spacevidcast's very own, very vocal QuantumG is joining us live via Skype video. The tweet crowd's like, oh God. Oh, is a woohoo?
The IRL Spacevidcast chat room.
Quantum, how goes it over there?
All good, all good. You seemed bored, so I thought I'd call in and keep you awake.
Say that again?
I said you seemed bored, so I thought I'd call in and keep you awake.
Oh, I have no doubt that he'll keep us awake. That sounded awkward. Didn't mean it like that. Didn't mean it like that. Quantum, we've been asking. So your screen name QuantumG. We've been asking everyone what their favorite space shuttle memory is. So favorite positive. I note with him. I have to say favorite positive space shuttle memory. What would yours be?
Well, I actually think mine is probably the mission where we went to the effort of naming the crew, and I was going to say pretending, but yeah, by the end of that effort, I actually felt like I was really interested in knowing who the astronauts' names were and what the mission was and what their past was and their history was. I don't think we've done it for any other mission. I can't remember what mission it was. I think it might have been 133. But that was a really fun experience, I think.
Have you actually had the opportunity to see any of these shuttle launches in person, or have you always watched them from the comfort of your own home while eating chips in your underwear, I think is what we determined earlier?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you've been a space geek for a long time. How did you get into space?
I have no recollection of ever not liking space. So it must have been, one of these things that it's just, I always like space. And, but I have to say that it really was the X Prize that made me a vocal space advocate, and it made me actually want to get other people to care. Before then, I didn't really know what to say to anybody to say, there's an actual path and we're going to go somewhere. But when that happened, I really bought into the whole, well, you and I are going to go to space and our opportunity is coming and these people are going to make it happen. And I still believe that to this day. I'm probably a little more realistic about it now than I was in 2004, but...
So you say 2004, you said the X Prize. Specifically, was it the Ansari X Prize that really kind of lit that passion, or was it, because you say X Prize, that's a large organization. They've got the Northrop Grumman, whatever they call it now. Right? They keep changing the name.
Northrop Grumman Lunar Lander X Prize Challenge.
Sure.
Yeah.
They've got that. They've got, yeah, exactly. So it was Ansari X Prize where the...
Yep, they've got the Google Lunar X Prize as well. It was the Ansari X Prize, and it was probably the 4 years before the Ansari X Prize was actually won. The whole build-up, I always compare this now because it's been quite a few years now since the Google Lunar X Prize came out, and it's almost exactly the same sort of build-up. The skepticism at the beginning of the Ansari X Prize was very similar to what people express now about the Google Lunar X Prize, or at least a couple of years ago. And now the Google Lunar X Prize, people are going, yeah, I think someone's going to win this, and that there's actually going to be a race, and you're going to be watching an attempt and going, is this it? Are they going to win, or is it going to be the next person afterwards? I hope that it doesn't work out the same way the Ansari X Prize did, where scale composites was just so far ahead of the pack, because up to the point before Burt Rutan came out and said, well, no, actually, I'm taking it, I'm going to win this, that there was a lot of talk that there was no idea who was going to win it, but there was a strong sense that somebody was going to win it. And I think that we're starting to get that now with the Google Lunar X Prize.
So you seem to be really interested in, I don't want to say citizen space, because that's not quite right, but certainly the privatized or the much smaller space as opposed to government space. Why that? Why not bigger government space as opposed to the Google Lunar X Prize or Ansari X Prize or stuff like that?
I'm interested in all of it, but the thing that really gets me excited is the idea that at some point in time, people will be able to go, hey, I see that I can put together a space mission here. I can get a launch from SpaceX, I can get a capsule from SpaceX, I can get something else like a lander, say, for the moon from somebody else, or I can get a station from Bigelow, and come up with an actual price tag for that, and then go to a crazy investor, more likely, and say, hey, I think we could actually do this. It's not, I've got to spend 10 years to do development to make a rocket. I've actually got all the parts now available to do it. And I think when that happens, you'll actually see, a dozen people going, a dozen different groups around the world going, we're doing our own thing, and we're not terribly interested in whether or not the politicians think that it's a good thing for their districts, or any other cynical description that you'd care to give about space these days.
Along those same lines, what's your view on the space shuttle retiring? Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Are you indifferent?
I wouldn't say I'm indifferent. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a long time coming. I do wish that NASA had handled it a hell of a lot better. That they'd actually thought, what if Constellation doesn't work? What are we going to have ready? And I've talked about this before, that they talked about resupply of the station in those terms, right? They talked about, we need 2 cargo suppliers at least, and we need them to be ready and on time, so that when the shuttle stands down, and they knew it was going to stand down, that they would have something ready to keep supplying the goods to the ISS. Because if they didn't, it would fall out of the sky, right? Like, there was an actual reality there that they couldn't deny. But when it comes to crew transport, they always had the Russians. And yeah, the Russians can put up their price, but you can keep paying more. And so, they had that denying reality possibility there. And I find it really sad that they didn't just say, hey, SpaceX, you really do think you can fly crew? Okay, we'll fund you. I think it was almost 5 years ago now that they could have said, okay, we'll start you up and see how you go, like they did with CCDev-1, and then tried to look for other suppliers. And it really is a shame that they've waited so long before they come up with something to go after it. But hopefully the gap will close quickly.
Well, but change is never easy, right? I mean, we resist change at every turn. And I don't think some people really thought the space shuttle ever really would go away. We grew up with it.
Right.
And then they figured Constellation would be the next big thing. It's an in-house, in-NASA rocket, so it's got to be the best there is. So that's what we'll go with. Why should we even consider private space, I think, was the mentality going around at the time.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. It's easy to say we don't need a backup, but then when you do need it, it really, someone should have got fired.
I love your one answer response, like, yep.
Yep.
Next question. That was awesome. You have any questions for Quantum? You know Quantum fairly well. That's awkward. Wow. Yeah. As soon as Quantum's on the show, it just becomes awkward.
Video.
That's how that works. Nothing for QG? No, all right. Anyone else have questions? I mean,
Although, like, I will say that oddly enough, and this happens in real life as well, when you get to put, like I said before, a face to a name, sometimes it's just nice to be able to do that. And the chat room hasn't had that opportunity before with Quantum, as we have in person, and so there's quite a few people who we're excited to see you today, Quantum. We'll put it that way.
Well, I don't know how to take that, Carrie-Anne, but thank you.
So for those who don't, if you're a new Spacevidcast, you're just tuning in for the first time, QuantumG is one of the moderators in the chat room.
Yes.
He's been with us for a very, very long time. And I would say he's slightly opinionated. He will take a stand on things he believes in, certainly, and he will, if he disagrees with you on you, he may fight you ever so. He'll do it in an eloquent way. Is that a nice way of putting it?
He has a way with words. We can say that, yes, absolutely.
Quantum, before we let you go, as we start prepping for some of the, because we're going to start pulling some tweet up people over here. Any last comments for some people who maybe aren't quite as excited about space today, but really should be? No comments for people who should be excited about space. Just awkward. All right, we're gonna let you go. We're gonna head back over to the tweet up people. The tweeple sitting right over here. We've got a critical space item. Thank you for being on the show. It's always fun to have you. Oh yeah, I think he's lost audio.